What's up everyone? I am Sespia and in this video it's gonna be a lesson about figurative language, especially simile and hyperbole. I'm inviting you to learn with me. Prepare your snacks and drinks because it's gonna be interesting. So without further ado, let's get started! So, according to Warren and Martin, simile is a comparison made between two objects of different kinds which have, however, at least one point in common. Usually, similes are marked by words such as like, as, so, appear, seem, and more than. Let me give you an example. Simile appears in lines of poetry by Robert Burns, a 19th century English romantic poet. All my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. All my love is like the melody that's sweetly played in June. Reading the lines of Robert Burns' poem entitled A Red, Red Rose feels like we are brought into the imaginary poet who shares his feelings of love with his lover. He expressed his love like a red rose that had just bloomed in June. Here, we see a point of similarity between love with red roses and melodious melody, which is beauty even though it is not explicitly stated, and with a few words, but revealing a broad meaning beyond the literal frame. Robert Burns invites us to understand the overflowing of his love through his beautiful, clear red color and the fragrant scent of a new rose that bloomed in June. As I mentioned before, simile are marked by words such as like, as, so, appear, seem, and more than. In here, we can easily spot it that Robert Burns used simile in the first lines, that is like. All my love is like a red, red rose. So he compared his love with a red rose. To further sharpen the sense of understanding poetry through the style of simile, I will give you one more example that is a poem by Shakespeare. How like a winter hath my absence been from thee, the pleasure of the fleeting year. What freezings have I felt, what dark days seen, what old December's bareness everywhere. In here, once again, Shakespeare used like in the first lines, that is a simile. Through the simile language style, Shakespeare revealed the lack of warmth, of love, when he was far from his lover. The absence of his lover at his side, he compared with the winter atmosphere. Because of that, all he felt was freezing, and for him the days were dark. Now, we move on to hyperbole. The style of language used by poets in an effort to describe objects and ideas by giving excessive pressure to obtain an intense effect. According to Wren and Martin, in hyperbole, a statement is made emphatic by overstatement. In everyday language, hyperbole arises among students in an atmosphere of taking an exam, with the phrase, I die if I don't pass this course. The word die is just too much because there are rarely people who really want to die just because they failed the test. Let's enrich our insight into the introduction of hyperbole more intensely, shall we? I'll give you simple sentences of hyperbole before we discuss it further in the form of a poem. The first example is, why man, if the river were dry, I am able to fill it with tears. This good example of hyperbole reveals how much the poet said excessively, that is, we all know that as fast as a tear, it can never fill a river. The second example is, here's the smell of blood, till all the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. This sentence shows us how the speaker says that the smell of blood on this tiny hand will not fade even though it is washed with all kinds of Arabian perfume, where we know that Arabian perfume is famous for its strong and long-lasting smell. So it is clear that the author is giving an overstatement over the smell of blood. Another example of hyperbole is found in the poem by Lord Tennyson that embraces the eagle. He claps the cry with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands, rings with the azure world, he dance, the wrinkled sea beneath him crawls, he watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. This poem was written solely to review eagles. In this poem, Lord Tennyson wants to describe the mighty of an eagle. We are all aware that the distance from the sun to the earth is more than 150 million kilometers, so it's really far. But to show the mighty effect of the eagle, he placed it close to the sun that was shining brightly. Now, I'm going to review what we've learned previously. Simile is about comparison, and hyperbole is when the author giving an overstatement. Let me repeat. Simile is comparison, and hyperbole is an overstatement. I'm as happy as a clam to teach you about simile and hyperbole that I was about to explode. I hope you enjoy these lessons and see you next time.